Are Portland's prostitution-free zones working? Tonight at 6.
An American official who often dealt with the Israeli leadership in the past, James A. Baker, is here with us now. He was Secretary of State. Mr. Baker, welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, David.
You know everybody here.
I do indeed.
If you were in Israel and if you were a Secretary of State now, you would be on your way to Israel, I assume.
That's right.
To offer advice.
Well, the President's been kind enough to ask a number of us to go this afternoon. And
you're leading it from Air Force Base, right?
Yes, that's right. And whether I go or not really depends on whether my doctor will let me go because of my back. But let me say this, David. I think the entire world is saddened and sickened and shocked by this. On a personal level, I certainly am. I mean, I dealt with Prime Minister Rabin and dealt with him very closely over a period of time. He was a towering leader whose personal and political courage really made peace possible. I heard some of the questions you asked earlier in the show to your other guests, and my sense is that peace is going to be Yitzhak Rabin's legacy, and that the process will continue now with even more effort and emphasis.
You think his successor will carry it on successfully? You know, they have crazies, as we do.
That's right.
And
well, you know, Shimon Peres was instrumental in certainly heavily so in terms of the agreement with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, with the Palestinians. He had a major role to play in the peace with Jordan. I think that he will continue to lead the Labor Party and the body politic in Israel toward peace.
Okay, so having said that, though, Mr. Baker, there is, I think, a strong view that he has never been electable, and that not having had the same military credentials as Rabin did, that Peres is not the leader who can put this together, using George's Nixon to China example. Is that your sense of it? Is there somebody else in the Labor Party who can?
I think when you say put this together, much of this has already been put together. There is peace now between Jordan and Israel. It's a warm peace. It's a good peace. Even the opposition in Israel subscribes to it. I think that the arrangements with the agreement with the Palestinians has gone a substantial distance down the track, and that's not going to be reversed. The real question, I think, is Syria, and whether or not this means that the Syrian-Israeli track will be even more deadlocked and gridlocked. And unfortunately, I think that perhaps will be the case, because it is possible that there will be an earlier election in Israel.
What should, if you were Secretary of State now, what should the United States be doing to try to make this?
Well, I think we should be doing what we are doing. Secretary Christopher, when the Amman conference took place last week or 10 days or so ago, he went to Damascus and had a meeting with President Assad to try and breathe some new life into the Syrian track. We should continue to be as supportive as we have been on the Palestinian track, and we've been very supportive. I think that the administration is doing what ought to be done there. We have a big stake in a peaceful Middle East. The economic development that most people thought was going to happen as soon as there was an agreement with the Palestinians, that hasn't taken place yet. Hadn't taken place because there's not a complete and comprehensive peace, because Syria is still outside.
Well, how do you get them inside? If as you say, the window gets smaller, how do you get them in? And without getting them in, how does the rest of it proceed?
Well, I think you just keep plugging away. It wasn't easy. I remember back in 1991, it wasn't at all easy to get Syria to agree to come sit across the table from Israel for the first time. And I think the administration is doing what they ought to be doing by plugging away at it and by offering suggestions as ways in which to resolve some of these difficult questions of security, like a presence on the ground, an Israeli presence on the ground in the Golan, a Syrian presence on the ground across the border in Israel. Those kinds of questions are where they're now stuck.
Why do you think this happened?
Well, I have to agree with what your first guest said, Sam. I think that there's been too much verbal violence. I think civil discourse in Israel on this issue has tended to break down. I don't think that you can abide a situation where people refer to the Prime Minister of Israel as a traitor and a murderer, and bring about allude to the Nazis and things like that. That just can't. That's just not civil discourse. I think that that has to be tamped down. The rhetoric has to be cooled. Yes, there is opposition to what's taken place in terms of the peace process, but that opposition, as Bibi Netanyahu just said, has to be expressed in a democratic and peaceful way.
Do you believe that Yasser Arafat intends the destruction of the state of Israel now?
No, I don't. No, I think that the Palestinians, those led by Yasser Arafat, are genuine in their desire for peace. I think they want a Palestinian state, but I think they've abandoned this idea that Israel is to be destroyed and never recognized and thrown into the sea.
The old idea always was that a Palestinian state per se, by definition, would threaten Israel.
Well, that's the argument that some make, yes, and a Palestinian state is not yet a fact.
Do you think that's true?
They have to get to the final, the permanent status negotiations, which are to begin next May, to tell us whether there's going to be a Palestinian state, whether there's going to be some sort of a body there with in confederation with
Jordan. Could there be a Palestinian state, in your view, that could live peacefully in Israel?
Yes, I think they could be. That's not U.S. policy even today, but I think that's that there could be, yes.
One of our themes this morning is that rhetoric matters, that words have consequences. Why does Arafat then tell his people, and he's a very different person in Arab newspapers than in other newspapers, that they want to destroy the state of Israel?
He should not do that, and he should be called upon. He should be called upon, as he has been, to recant that. And he is doing a heck of a lot better, George, not only in his rhetoric, but in the efforts to curb terrorism that's coming from Jericho, let's say, and Gaza particularly. He's doing a better job with Hamas. He's walking a very, very difficult and dangerous tightrope himself. It was the decision of the Israeli government to deal, you know, with Yasser Arafat, not the decision of the United States. We never dealt with Arafat back there when I was Secretary of State. But having said that, I think the process has begun. It has gone a certain distance down the road. I think it can be brought to a successful fruition, and I really believe it will be brought to a successful fruition.
Don't they need to improve their security arrangements?
Yes, I think they do. This is a clear evidence that the Israel we used to know in terms of the openness and the democratic process there needs to maybe change a little bit. Unfortunately, that's the case. Change like ours, as Sam said a moment ago. You can't get close to a president of the United States without going through a whole host of security checks.
A few moments ago, in discussing possible permutations of an arrangement with Syria, you said there might be Syrians on the ground in Israel and Israelis on the ground in the Golan Heights. You did not mention the possibility of U.S. forces on the Golan Heights. Do you think that will be necessary?
I think that if Israel and Syria reach a peace agreement and come to us and say, in order to make this work, in order for there to be genuine, comprehensive peace in the Middle East, we need American forces on the Golan. We certainly should supply those forces. Absolutely. We have a big stake in Middle East peace. And we've had forces in the Sinai, as you know, for a long time. Never one instant at all.
Let me move on to another region of the world then. When Yugoslavia began to break up, you said famously, we don't have a dog in that fight. We might have 25,000 soldiers on the ground over there, should we?
No, we shouldn't, in my opinion, except for the fact that the president's made the promise, and I think we should honor presidential promises. It was made way back there in 1993. I think this is a very, very difficult military situation there in Yugoslavia, where these people have been fighting for centuries. They don't respect ceasefires. They don't respect peace agreements. We have been a participant in that war by bombing the Serbs. Americans as peacekeepers a lot of times are targets. The reason I think the Golan is different is because we would never be targets to Israelis. And even Prime Minister Rabin used to say, it's tough to get a deal with Assad, but if you ever get a deal, you can generally make
Let me move on to another subject which you've had a great deal of experience in, politics in this country. Colin Powell, do you think he should? Do you personally want him to run for the presidency, and do you think he will?
I think Colin Powell would be a good president. I don't know whether he's going to run or not. I'm not participating in the primaries, having tried for 20 years to build a Republican Party nationally. I'm going to support the Republican nominee, whoever that is, and we have a lot of very fine candidates.
Well, some people believe
who are out there, they roll their sleeves up and they're taking...
Some people believe that if Mr. Powell should be the nominee of the party, it would sort of destroy the party because they don't think that he would be sufficiently conservative enough.
We ought to be inclusive, not exclusive in our politics. If he's going to run, I hope he runs as a Republican and not as an independent, because any independent candidacy will hurt us.
You can't win. Thank you very much, Mr. Baker. Thanks for coming. Pleasure to see you again. Why don't you come back here and stay? We'd love to have you.
Thank you, David.
Coming next, our discussion here among ourselves, unrehearsed and all of that, in a moment.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I have a brief announcement to make. Today, our country enters the 21st century with a private...
Around the world today, a historic transformation is taking place, as industries once owned by governments are increasingly owned by investors. And Merrill Lynch is helping lead the way by advising governments in some of the most significant privatizations, and by advising investors on how best to take advantage of the opportunities that result.
Privatization leads...
But our role is hardly surprising, given that more companies, countries, and individuals turn to Merrill Lynch for financial advice than any other firm.
And a better life for our people.
For all our clients, the quality of our advice makes a difference. The difference is Merrill Lynch.
One of the newest developments in nutrition is actually one of the oldest foods known to man, the soybean. For over 4,000 years, the Chinese have used it to make nutritious, protein-rich foods. But in America, the history of the soybean is considerably shorter. In fact, it didn't become a widely used food ingredient here until the 50s. One thing's for sure, though, it's come a long way since then. Over the years, one company has led the way in unlocking the versatility of the soybean. A company that each day continues to develop new ways to use this abundant, functional source of protein. The Archer Daniels Midland Company.